Hello, ladies and gentlemen. As always, it's your host, Nico Vujic, and I'm bringing you another episode of the Debate Show. Over the past year or two, there's been incidents such as the Colorado movie theater shooting, the Newtown, Connecticut school shooting, and the LAX airport attempted shooting. And all these have caused uprising in the United States. It's caused a huge debate about gun laws. There's still a large number of people who support the guns and believe they should be legal or they should be kept legal in most states. There's a large number of people who believe the guns should be banned and we should not be able to carry handguns or any kind of guns with us, other than for hunting purposes, that is. Today, our debate will consist of a team that has Will and Ryan. They'll be debating the guns, and then the supporters of the guns will be Jasdeep and Amadeep. So let's get it started.
Hi there, my name's Will and this is Ryan, and we are presenting the motion to ban all guns in the United States of America. We feel that guns are just much too dangerous to be handed out freely in the world, and they cause way too many deaths. So my first point is that the Second Amendment, which is known as the right to bear arms, is outdated and was only implemented by the Founding Fathers to protect U.S. citizens from the British Army, as well as dangerous animals and Native Americans from the New World wilderness. So, back in 1776, when the United States was founded, there was a lot of worry about the British and how they would attack, and as well as the natives. So what they did was they decided that all United States citizens should be allowed to have guns to protect themselves. Well, fast forward over 200 years, the United States is the superpower now. You don't have countries that are very close to invading them or hurting their citizens. That's why I don't understand why citizens still are freely allowed to have guns. This amendment was made over 200 years ago. Times have changed. The Founding Fathers would have never imagined these AR-15 rifles, these weapons of mass destruction. I don't understand how they could possibly comprehend that, and furthering this, why they would ever allow this amendment to still be enforced. It just doesn't make sense. So another point we have is that there have been a lot of large-scale massacres, such as school, movie theater, army, and airport shootings of late, and these would all be significantly diminished if there was an outlaw of high-power assault rifles and shotguns. I mean, you look at Newtown, for example. I mean, horrible shooting in Connecticut. I think something like 15 students were killed by just one person who was so easily allowed to get an AR-15 rifle, and it really makes no sense. I mean, if that person wasn't able to get the AR-15 rifle, how would he ever been able to kill 15 children? What was he going to bring in? A knife? And then it wouldn't have been nowhere near the devastation of having up to 15 children killed at one point. The movie theater shooting, I believe the movie was Batman in Aurora, Colorado. It was crazy to think how guns, like, so powerful, are able to be handed out so easily. And my final point is that only qualified servicemen and police officers should be allowed to use these high-powered rifles for situations such as war and critical situations such as hostage rescue, those types of purposes. Why we need to hand out these guns? I mean, can't you just use a simple bolt-action rifle for hunting? Why do you need these automatic weapons with absolutely massive amounts of ammo they can carry and shoot at one point? It's just absolutely crazy to think of that. Alright, just some facts to rail off for you here. In the USA in 2013, there were 11,419 gun-related deaths, with this attributing to over 500,000 years of life being taken away. Now that's crazy to think about. That's a lot of life. Across the pond in England, there were 146 gun deaths in 2011 via gunpolicy.org. which comes out to a 0.23 gun death rate per 100,000 people. Now, according to National Geographic, this is about the same likelihood of getting struck by lightning, being killed in the UK by a gun. Now, only if America had that same likelihood. Also in England, they haven't had a school shooting since 1996 at Dunblane Elementary School, where a man walked in and killed an entire class of children, sorry. And because of that incident, the British Parliament outlawed all guns in Britain, and it obviously worked very well due to the fact that there hasn't been a school shooting since that event.
Alright, so me and Joseph here, we're saying that, okay, guns should be legal. But why? Why do you guys ask? Okay, so imagine this. There's a school shooting. No one around has a gun. No one can come and help those kids that are basically dying one by one. If we ban all guns, no one can come in and help. And the cops aren't instantaneous. They can't come right away. And about probably in 5 minutes they'll arrive. And it's a life and death situation. And countless deaths could have already occurred. But if there was a neighbor or someone right beside the school that already had a gun, he can rush in, help, and basically save countless of lives. Also, guns don't just appear randomly. People have to go through a process and try to get them legally. And there's a long process of going through background checks and people going through psychological tests that proves that these people are sane and they can handle a gun. And let's say we just ban all guns too. If we banned all guns, what would happen to the people that do have guns legally and are sane? What would happen to them? They would just snap and just start. There would be violence and there would be multiple killings just because the government decided to just ban all guns for no reason. They haven't shot anybody. It's not their fault. It's other people that are misrepresenting people that already have guns. Alright, and if you think about it, crazy people can find guns anywhere. They're in the black market. You can get them underground. Now, this is probably the major problem. Instead of focusing on, oh, should guns be banned or should guns be legalized, why doesn't the American government focus on, oh, we should find who these people are, who's supplying those crazy people with guns, and probably stop all the shootings and everything like that, such as the shooting in Colorado, for example. That could have been prevented easily by probably stopping all the guns that are coming in illegally, because that person probably didn't even have a permit for that gun. And also, okay, if a dangerous person just comes out of nowhere with a gun, and at this point, let's say America's banned all guns and everything that they had to do with that, that person would still have the gun because he probably got it out of a black market or anything like that. And now that innocent person, the average person that used to probably have a gun, is defenseless, and he's probably gonna get shot. All right, all right, in America, Chicago and New York City, though, they have a ban rate as well. They have a ban on guns, but still, there's still so many murders. There's so much violence because those crazy people, they can still get guns from the black market and other means. So it's not even effective. So what the American government should actually do is go out, look at where these guys are getting guns from, because that's the only way to solve their problems. And even if they did solve that anyways, a crazy person's still gonna harm someone just because he wants to, just because the gun is just a tool. It's not gonna help. Something else could help them, like any other object, any other sharp object, for example, could like kill someone easily. And that's why guns should stay legal, because it'll help people be safer and will help protect others in society, and basically, yeah.
So here's the deal with most gun deaths in the US. It's the fact that most of them are due to heat of the moment decisions. So before anything actually happens, people react without thinking and they end up pulling the trigger. And unlike a punch or something else, those are almost fatal instantly. I mean, someone's stuck in a sketchy situation, and someone pulls out a gun. You're stuck you're stuck, and you don't know what to do. Maybe you're afraid of the other person, or the other person has it on you. You or them feels that something's going to happen, and before you can even analyze the situation or think every possibility through in your head, someone pulls the trigger, and the next thing you know, it's on the news all of a sudden that someone was killed just because of the fact they had a gun. I mean, it's outrageous the fact that this can happen on such a daily basis to anybody at any time. Having a gun is just trouble. I mean, you can walk down the street and someone can just pull out a gun on you just because of the way you look at them. It's just, I don't understand why they would allow guns to be bought by the public when it really just allows access to anybody to use such a dangerous tool for whatever reason they want. A second point I'd like to bring up is about how easy it is to conceal handguns. I mean, you can put it in your coat, your pocket, your bag, or if you're a woman, you can put it in your purse. And you wouldn't even know that other people are carrying around handguns too. They're so small and easy to conceal nowadays that anybody on the streets could have one of them. And there's no real purpose to have them. I mean, if you're going to work, why would you need to bring a handgun with you? And why would an office full of people, why would every single one of them need a handgun anyways? It's just gonna cause problems because something goes wrong. Now everybody in the building has handguns. Like, that's totally absurd and dangerous. And if you're going to the grocery store or just running errands, I don't really think you're gonna need to bring a handgun with you, because I would assume that people would be smart enough to do it in a safe place. I mean, if you have a choice, you're not gonna go at night where you're alone and vulnerable. You're going to be somewhere where it's a respectable place. So personally, I don't believe that having a handgun on you at any point in time really has any useful or purpose in society at all. My last main argument that I'd like to make is that people who generally support guns just say that, why not just do a background check? If you just do a background check on them and if a flag comes up, just don't sell them the gun. Well, it's not always as easy as it looks, because not everybody is an offender. I mean, if you look at the Virginia Tech shooter and the shooters from Columbine, those guys were first-time offenders. They walked into a gun store and bought guns, and nobody said a thing. Nobody knew what they were going to use them for, but there's probably no need for them to buy them in the first place. They're virtually non-existent, and they're really useless because everybody is different, and everybody has the capability of walking into a store, purchasing an assault rifle or a handgun or any kind of firearm they choose, and it can be used for any purpose they wish to do it for. So to say that you can use a background check to just stop anybody from getting a gun is just absurd, because there's no real way to prove what they're going to do with it or what they've done before.
Good.
So to say that background checks are an effective way to stop people from getting guns and stopping these shootings has no validity, because you can never predict what people are going to do, because everybody's different and everybody has different capacities. Now, to finish off, and relating to Will's point earlier about the amount of deaths in the US, a lot of the time the people who support guns will state that, well, most of those shooters were mental illness cases. But to say that 11,419 situations were all caused by mental illness cases, it just seems too unrealistic of an amount. And I don't believe that that's a solid point that they can make, because it's hard to believe that there are that many times when people were shot simply because the shooter was or has a mental illness themselves. And in conclusion, both Will and I feel that there's no real purpose to have firearms available to the public. They're dangerous, they're really easy to misuse, they're incredibly easy to hide, and there's no real way to stop people from obtaining them. So I don't know why that the gun law still exists, because we believe that they should just be banned outright, since there's no real use in society for civilians to own firearms.
Okay, Okay, so ever since 1986, in America, guns have increased 1,200%, but the death rate has been decreasing. So basically, even though the guns are increasing, the deaths are decreasing. So it doesn't generally mean that guns are the only weapons that are killing people. For example, if someone could be just choked to death by someone's hand, or a knife, for example, guns aren't the only weapons available to mankind. Okay, since banning guns wouldn't really be a viable method for decreasing the deaths, maybe a possibility would be more mental checks on people who applying for a gun. This would possibly decrease the amount of crazy people getting guns, because if a person has his mental health checked before he actually gets a gun, there's less chance of attacks like Columbine happening, where people just got guns and were completely like out of any sort of stable mental health and going and killing people. If they get their mental health checked, then it would basically ensure that people are only using guns for the normal kind of stuff like hunting or self-defense. Banning guns basically takes away a person's freedom. It basically said, like, according to the Second Amendment, basically says that all Americans should have the right to bear arms. So this would basically take away their freedom and their right to actually bear arms. So it would basically be changing the amendment. It would end up costing a lot of money to ban guns, just like it did in Montreal after there was a big shooting. So to actually ban guns would cost a lot of money. It would cost a lot of money for actual people to go out and apply for a gun every time they needed to use it, and for any even legitimate reasons like hunting or anything. So people can use guns without actually killing people. So people can be using them for hunting, people can be using them for just self-defense purposes, but it doesn't mean they're actually going to kill someone. Guns aren't just a tool for destruction, they can be used for a lot of stuff more like self-defense. They can also be used for productive things like hunting. Okay, so guns are generally frowned upon because people, if one person kills someone, then everybody else who owns a gun is looked at with a sinister look, like they're a type of murderer too. But guns aren't only used for murdering, as I already stated. So guns already have a negative outlook on them. That's why they're receiving all this criticism. The media usually takes advantage of this and talks about guns in a negative sense as well. So the media always talks about guns in a negative sense, as in guns are always killing people, guns are always the ones inflicting harm upon other people, but they never actually show what guns do in a positive sense. And that's why people want to ban guns, but we still feel that guns are what is protecting our society.
Both sides, they both brought up really good points for this debate. However, I'm going to have to go with the gun side. I'm not taking their side, I'm just throwing my opinion in on this. I believe that with the banning of guns, it would unarm the innocent people, and the criminals gangsters, school shooters, I still believe if they're sick enough in the head to want to commit these crimes, they'll find a way to get the guns via illegal dealers. They could steal them. They could get hunting rifles for all we know and kill people with. It's just going to unarm the innocent, and the innocent people will not have anything to defend themselves, if the criminals still will, so it'll put the innocent at a disadvantage. Another thing I would have to say is that if you look at it, lots of guns in the States that are used in shooting crimes, they're already purchased illegally. Lots of the guns from Los Angeles gangs, New York gangs, they're purchased illegally. Well, hell, New York gangs are purchased. The guns there are purchased illegally because it is illegal to carry a handgun on you in New York, and there's still a large number of gun crimes there. So yeah, it's just not really gonna solve much if you ban them, because people are still gonna get them. The next point I would bring up is that people will find an option B to their plan of shooting. If they can't shoot with a gun, they may take a knife, a baseball bat to kill you. They might go buy a taser. Even though tasers are illegal, they could still get one. Taser, stun gun. People are gonna find an option B for anything. Anything, you just take something away and someone just looks for the next thing they can. So that'll always work. The next point I bring up in this debate is that guns, they put women on an even playing ground than men. Most men are more physically dominant than women, as we could tell. So, and women the average woman does not stand a chance if a man in public tries to harass her and attack her. However, if she has a handgun to defend herself with, the man will maybe reconsider. And it makes women feel safer. Maybe if they're walking somewhere at night and they have to go somewhere, they have a gun on them, they're safer. The next point, or my final point on this matter, is that it would cost the government more money to stop dealers, people who sell the guns. You could see back in the Prohibition, people like Al Capone, they sold, or other mafia members, they sold they sold alcohol, when it was illegal. They made money. The government had to enroll more cops to try to stop these leaders. Anything that's illegal and people want, it's going to create people who need money, dealers. They're going to sell it, and then that's more money towards that gang, more power. So how is the government going to have to react? They're going to have to spend more money to increase the power of their force, the police force, and they're going to have to fight these dealers. And that's basically what I have to say about guns. Thank you.